All right, so once again, my name is Sam. As you can see, I'm Asian. And as most of you know, most Asians cannot swim. Almost every Asian has a near-death drowning story. Usually they went to a barbecue and a well-meaning Caucasian friend pushed them into the pool, thinking, of course, everyone can swim. I remember when I went to primary school, swimming lessons were compulsory. I was the only Asian in my class. I was the only person who could not swim. And the swimming teacher did not know what to do with me. Up until then, everyone she had could swim. And she didn't know what to do with someone who could not swim. She used to just say, swim, as if that could help me swim. I used to drown, put up my hand. She would just say, swim. She did not know what to do. I remember one time I was drowning so much, I breathed in so much water, I vomited my lunch back up in the pool, and for the rest of the lesson, my lunch was doing laps around the pool. That was my revenge. Now, there's no point saying to someone who cannot swim, because if they could swim, they would be doing it. And that's how we feel when people say, you gotta tell your friends about Jesus. You think, I would be doing it if I knew how to do it. And so there's no point saying, tell your friends about Jesus unless we know how to. So what I'm going to do tonight over the next 30 or 40 minutes, followed by question and answer time from you guys, is share a few tips that have worked for me. They're good tips. I'm not saying they're great tips. They're not silver bullet tips guaranteed to work. And I'm not saying they're the only way to do it. So maybe you have a better way. And I'm not saying that my way is the only way, you better do it my way, it's the wrong way. I'm just sharing a handful of tips that have worked very well for me and my wife, and maybe they will work for you as well. So tip number one is this. We need to get our friends to become friends with their friends. Tip number one, get our friends to become friends with their friends. Well, what on earth do I mean by this? I want you to imagine I get up here now and say, last night my wife and I were kicking back, watching TV, when this UFO landed in our backyard. A little green man got out, asked us to go in the UFO, so my wife and I did. He took us to the planet Jupiter, we got out, he showed us his friends, his family, we had a meal, we got back into the UFO, we went through a space-time continuum, we went through a time portal, and only 1 second of Earth time went by. Who here in this room of 200 people, who here believes me? Wow, okay, almost no one believes me. In a room full of 200 people, no one believes my Jupiter story. Imagine if I now say, I've got another story for you. 2,000 years ago, God sent us his son Jesus, born of a virgin, 100% God, 100% human at the same time. While he was alive, he raised a dead girl back to life. More than that, he died on a cross in our place. And if we believe this, God will take away all our sin, guilt and shame. More than that, he rose from the dead. If you believe this, his spirit lives in you right now. More than that, he is in heaven right now. And one day, if we die, our spirit goes to be with Jesus in heaven. And one day in the future, depending on which denomination you belong to, he will come again and set up a physical kingdom here on earth. And in that moment, your body will rise from its grave and be reunited with your soul. Who here believes me? Whoa, okay. Room full of 200 people, almost everyone believes me. Now, you got to be thinking, why are you happy to believe the Jesus story but not the Jupiter story? Because they both sound pretty unbelievable. And to be honest, the Jesus story is less believable than the Jupiter story. So why are we believing the Jesus story but not the Jupiter story? Because of what philosophers call plausibility structures. So here's me, happily telling you my story. Here's you listening to my story. And as I tell you my story, you have plausibility structures which are pre-programmed, predetermined, and they prejudge my story as believable or unbelievable. You either red flag it, unbelievable, or green light it, bling, believable. So as I tell you the Jupiter story, as I say a UFO landed in our backyard last night, Your pre-programmed, predetermined plausibility structures are prejudging my story and red flagging everything. Bah, 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 bah. Unbelievable, unbelievable, unbelievable. We went to the planet Jupiter and we got out. Bah, 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 bah. Unbelievable, unbelievable, unbelievable. We went through a space-time continuum and only 1 second of Earth time went by. Bah, 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 bah. You are red flagging everything's unbelievable. But as I tell you the Jesus story, your pre-programmed, predetermined plausibility structures are prejudging the Jesus stories. Bling, believable. 2,000 years ago, Jesus was born of a virgin. Bling, 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 believable, believable, believable. He died on a cross and rose again. Bling, 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 believable, believable, believable. One day he will come again. Bling, 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 believable, believable, believable. Now you think, where do I get these plausibility structures from? We get them from 3 main sources. We get them from the facts, evidence, and data. We get them from our experiences, and we get them from the community, friends and family that we know and trust. So, as I tell you the Jupiter story, none of us here believe there are any facts, evidence, or data that support the Jupiter story. None of us have had a personal experience of a UFO, and none of us belong in a community that believes in UFOs. But as I tell you the Jesus story, most of us here believe there are facts, evidence, and data to support the Jesus story. Most of us have had a personal experience of Jesus in our life, and most of us belong in a community of friends and family that we trust who also believe in the Jesus story. Now, out of all of these, we think it's facts, evidence, and data that's most important, but rightly or wrongly, this is the least important when it comes to determining belief. Because if I told you the UFO is in my backyard right now, who here wants to come out to Croydon Park tonight to check out the UFO? Who would come? You think, no, I've got Netflix tonight. I am not going to check out this UFO. And if you did come, you'd be going, nah, this is a hoax. There's some other explanation. You find a way to explain away the evidence. Whether we like it or not, rightly or wrongly, facts, evidence, and data are very weak in determining belief. We explain it away, or we just refuse to believe the facts, evidence, and data. Out of all of these, the most important one, whether we like it or not, rightly or wrongly, is community. We think like the people we think around us think. We believe what they believe, and we behave the same way they behave. A few years ago, my wife and I were expecting our second child. We didn't have a name for our second child, trying to work out what to name our second child. Every parent plays this game. Now, we don't want a name so common like John, Peter, or David, because that's boring. But we don't want a name so weird like Matthew with 3 T's and a silent Q. That's just weird, and now the kid's just going to need therapy. Every parent wants that name just right. Not too common, not too weird. Just right to show, hey, look how hip, trendy, and cool the parents are. Hey, what a name, what a name. So we thought, Cooper. Let's name him Cooper. Well, that year, Cooper was a top 10 name in New South Wales. But we're all sheep, whether we know it or not. We think, we believe, and behave like our community thinks, believes, and behaves. All right, who here in this room believes in government-funded healthcare? The government should pay for my medical bills. Medicare, a safety net. Whoa, it's a minority. No, it's a majority belief. Majority belief. All right, okay. Yep, we need a safety net. Who here thinks motorcyclists should wear helmets? It should be compulsory, mandated. Wow, majority belief. Who here believes we have a God-given right to pack heat? As we came into this church tonight, we should have had a right to bear arms, a concealed weapon. Wow, no one, because you're not going to tell us if you have a concealed weapon. All right, so this is a church full of Bible-believing, God-fearing, church-attending Christians. If I was in Texas, another room full of Bible-believing, God-fearing, church-attending Christians, and if I said, who here believes in government-funded healthcare? No one, because, hey, I worked hard for my money. You shouldn't fund someone who didn't work as hard as me. They should pay for their own healthcare costs. If I said, who here believes a motorcyclist should wear a helmet? No, it's their heads, they're right. They can do with what they want with their head, and besides, if they have an accident, they're paying for their healthcare, not me, so that's all right. And then when I said, do we have a God-given right to pack heat? Every arm would have gone up. Suddenly I realised, wow, it's community that determines belief. See, as you came here tonight, imagine if I told you the Jupiter story in a room full of 200 people. I'm unbelievable because I'm the one schmuck who believes in the story. It may have happened, but I'm the one and only lonely schmuck who believes in it. But imagine if I tell you the story and this half of the room goes, oh my goodness, me too. A UFO landed in our backyard last night. We too went to Jupiter. I thought that was you I saw, just wasn't sure, didn't want to wave just in case. Now, how's this half of the room feeling? You think, half the people I know and trust also believe this story. Now it's way more believable. Imagine if you came here and everyone said, oh my goodness, me too. That really happened to us as well. And you're the one and only schmuck who doesn't believe in the story. Now you think, maybe it's way more believable because people I know and trust believe in it. It's like if you run a youth group in regional New South Wales where only 3 other teenagers turn up to a youth group on a Friday night and every other teenager is doing their own thing. Now these 3 teenagers are feeling like they're the only schmucks who believe in the Jesus story, and it's unbelievable. But if you take them to a convention once a year where they're surrounded by 2,000 teenagers moshing and worshipping Jesus, they think, whoa, this is way more believable because 2,000 other people our age, our community, also believe in it. That's why Paul says in 1 Corinthians, I saw Jesus risen from the dead. Oh, not just me, but the other apostles, not just them, but 500 other people alive, walking right now. They also saw Jesus rising from the dead. It's way more believable. So I'm not talking about the truth status of the story. I'm talking about the believability status of the story. So why am I saying this when it comes to telling our friends about Jesus? Because normally when we get told to tell our friends about Jesus, we go, okay, you know what? I will. And we think, okay, I'll bring it up at lunchtime. Maybe I'll sign up for a cooking class, a book reading club, a touch football team, and I'll tell them about Jesus. Well, that's a very good motive, but you're the one schmuck in a room of 20 people and you're the only one who believes in the Jesus story. It may be true, but it comes across as unbelievable. So what we need to do is get our friends to become friends with their friends. We need to merge our universes. Because typically as Christians, we have 2 universes of friends, a universe of Christian friends, universe of non-Christian friends. When our Christian friends go to a barbecue, we go with them. When our non-Christian friends go to a barbecue, we go with them. When our Christian friends go to the movies, we go with them. When our non-Christian friends go to the movies, we go with them. But we need to merge our universes so that our non-Christian friends start making some Christian friends, so they have a community of Christian friends. So when our Christian friends go to the movies, we invite our non-Christian friends along. When our non-Christian friends have a barbecue, we invite our Christian friends along, and bit by bit we merge our universes. When I was a junior doctor, I shared accommodation with 3 other doctors. None of them were Christians. But because they lived with me, my church friends would always come and visit me, and they became friends with my church friends. And every time my church friends went somewhere, I invited my non-Christian flatmates along. Every time my non-Christian flatmates went to a movie, I invited my church friends along. And bit by bit, our universes merged. And it takes 2 years. 2 years to make a trusted network of friends, but after 2 years, my non-Christian doctor friends fell into a community of Christian friends. And after 2 years, they started going along to church with me, and after 2 years, they gave their lives to Jesus because they now belong in a community of other people who also believed in the Jesus story. So the Jesus story, which had been true all along, now becomes believable. So what I'm asking for is actually a lifestyle change. Evangelism is a lifestyle change. We think it's this one-off event we add to our lives or our church calendar, when really we and the church need to make a lifestyle change. So, every New Year's we get fired up. This year I'm going to get fit. This year I'm going to get fit. We make these New Year's resolutions. I'll eat less, drink less, exercise more. We wake up at 5 in the morning. We go for a jog. We sign up for a gym. We try out a new diet. And usually it lasts a month. And after a month, we're back to our old habits. Why? Because it was unsustainable. We saw fitness as an event we had to shoehorn into our life, when really you need a lifestyle change where your life becomes fit. Evangelism is the same. We think something we shoehorn into our life, like, okay, I've got to tell my friend about Jesus at lunchtime. All right, I'm going to do this. Or we add an event to our church calendar, which we should do, but it has to be more than that. It's a lifestyle change for us and the church. We need to merge our universes. My wife and I, we're at a stage of life now where we're trying to matchmake our non-Christian friends. We're Christian friends. So we're always having barbecues, thinking, okay, these non-Christian friends will really get on with our Christian friends here. Let's make them together so they become friends together. Because I remember when I was single, you'd always get invited to a dinner, you turn up and go, oh, it's happened again. They're trying to matchmake me with someone because there's a couple. Look, there's one girl and there's one guy. Oh, it's happened again. How do I get talked into this? But that's what we do with our non-Christian friends. We invite, hey, that non-Christian couple would really get on with these two Christian couples, and we try to introduce Christian friends into their life. So that's tip number one, a lifestyle change where we merge our universes. And we get our friends to become friends with their friends. And we're in it for the long game because it takes 2 years for people to form a trusted network of friends. And what my wife and I have sort of noticed is almost everyone, all our non-Christian friends have sort of just moved into Sydney in the last 2 to 5 years. Actually, they have no trusted network of friends. And it's been really easy for us to move into that space. All right, the second tip then is we need to go to their things. Go to their things before they come to your things. I have a friend called Andrew who often organises evangelistic events. He invites me along. And when I go, Andrew is always surrounded by 5 or 6 non-Christian friends. And they're happy to be there. And afterwards they had a great time. They ask me questions. They say, fantastic, thank you so much for coming. So I went to Andrew's wife, Jackie. I said, Jackie, what is going on? Every time Andrew organises one of these things, he's got 5 or 6 non-Christian friends. And they're 5 or 6 different non-Christian friends, and they're happy to be here. What is going on? And Jackie said, oh, that's because we're always going to their things. This would be one of many things we would do together anyway. We always go to their things, we hang out. This is just one of many things we would be doing together anyway. Because normally, a church will organise a men's breakfast and think, oh, there's an evangelistic men's breakfast, invite your friends along. You think, oh, how am I going to do this? So you're trying to get the courage at work. Okay, I can do this. I'm going to invite my friends to an evangelistic men's breakfast. And your non-Christian friends are sitting here thinking, oh no, here he comes. You know what he's going to do? He's going to invite us to one of those evangelistic men's breakfasts. See, since when do men do breakfast together anyway? And now this is evangelistic. Wow, okay, how unnatural is that? But anyway, if you're always going to their things, this will be one of many things you do together anyway. So go to their trivia nights, go to their fundraisers, go to their Tupperware things, go to their concerts, go to their grand finals, go to their sporting events, go to their things. I'm in a stage of life now where I have 3 boys. They do Saturday sports, Saturday AFL, and I thought you could just dump your kids. Child minding on Wednesday night, child minding on Saturday, but it's all changed now. Now they want parents to get involved. There's a barbecue roster, there's a sideline roster, they want a manager. Whoa, what is going on? And so someone at work whose kid had also done the whole Saturday sport thing, he said, don't fight it. It's like a rip. Just embrace it and let it take you, because you will become their de facto chaplain. Take an interest in their lives, get yourself involved, and you will build up cachet, and you go to their things, they will come to your things. So I've signed my wife up for the rosters, and it's really, really working. Oh yeah, I remember my church, I live in a cul-de-sac, and most of the people there, they're of Italian Catholic background. So one Christmas Eve, they went to their local Catholic church for Mass, and I said, can I come along? And they said, sure. So I went along to Mass with them, and on the way home, they said, well, what do you do for Christmas? And I said, funny you should ask. because I'm the guy who gives the talk at my church. Would you like to come? And they all said yes, and they all came en masse to my Christmas service. Why? Because I had gone to their things before asking them to come to my things. So that's tip number 2, go to their things. Hang out with them. And so when you invite them to one of your things, it's just one of many things you would be doing together anyway. Tip number 3. It's what I call the coffee, dinner, gospel sequence. Because now we're still saying, well, how do I tell them about Jesus? How do I tell them about Jesus? Well, don't worry about that. Break it down into steps. It's like when you see all the dishes piled up in your kitchen. That is so many dishes. And my wife would say, it's all right. Just do it one piece at a time. Break it down into baby steps. Well, how do I tell my friends about Jesus? Baby steps. Baby steps. Ask them for coffee first. That's a safe invitation. It's public space. It's easy conversation. Just 10 or 20 minutes are invested. Once you've done coffee a few times, invite them to a meal, lunch or dinner. That's a bigger invite. It's private space. 1 or 2 hours invested. And sooner or later, conversations will move to gospel opportunities. So go coffee, dinner, gospel. Why do I suggest this sequence? Because in the Western world, we have what's called a very strict secular, sacred divide. All goes back to the Western Enlightenment from the 1600s. It's been like this in the West ever since the 1600s. In the secular world, we talk about facts, evidence, and empirical data. 1 + 1 = 2. The sky is blue and water boils at 100 degrees Celsius, all things being equal. Then we have the world of the sacred, where we talk about ethics, values, and God. Now, in the Western world, we've grown up saying that these things are verifiable. I can prove it. The sky is blue. Look at it. 1 + 1 = 2. Water boils 100 degrees Celsius. Look at it. We can both agree. The sky is blue. Water boils 100 degrees Celsius. So we don't have arguments. But in this world, even if these things exist, we can't verify them. We can't prove them. How do I prove the world of ethics? If I say gambling is wrong, one of you will say, no, it's not. Now we have an argument. Values. If I say chocolate is better than vanilla, one of you say, no, it's not. Now we have an argument. Rugby league is better than rugby union. No, it's not. That's the world of values. There is a God. No, there isn't. And how do you verify it? So we've been taught never to talk about this world. This world belongs in the private space. You want to believe in all these things, good, but do it in the privacy of your own home. But this is the public space. Don't bring that stuff into the public space. So we have what's called an unofficial de facto closed country in Australia, where we cannot talk about God in public. We can only talk about it in the privacy of our own home. So how can we talk about Jesus in an unofficial de facto closed country? We do it the same way that missionaries do it in official closed countries, and that is coffee, dinner, gospel. So in coffee, that's public space, and you have public conversation. Wow, how blue is the sky? What books are you reading? What did you do on the weekend? How about them Bulldogs? But bit by bit, as you have dinner, you move people into private space, and suddenly these sorts of conversations will emerge and gospel opportunities will come up. One way of understanding the way conversations work, and I learnt this from Peter Ritchie, who has a ministry in the armed forces called Fighting Words. Conversations have 3 layers. It's like layers of onions. On the outer layer, we talk about interests. In the middle layer, we talk about values. And the central layer, we talk about worldviews. So interest, what did you do on the weekend? How blue is the sky? How about them Bulldogs? Values, gambling is wrong. Where are you going to send your kids to school? Worldview, what is real? Is there a God? Do you pray? Will there be life after death? All right, so we always begin conversations in interest. What did you do on the weekend? And if people feel safe, they might invite you into the world of values. And if they feel safe, they might invite you into the world of worldviews. And usually these sorts of conversations start happening in private space, like dinner, in the privacy of your own home, not in public space. Now, chaplains teach me that people will drop a hint that they're trying to bring you in one further layer. And they drop it once. If you miss it, they'll drop it twice. If you miss it, they'll drop it a third time. If you miss it, they think, okay, you're not listening, you're not interested. And they come back out here and say, wow, how blue was the sky on the weekend? Yeah, how blue was the sky? Now, I had a friend, as we were talking, he mentioned once his mother died this year. He mentioned it twice, his mother died this year. He mentioned it 3 times, his mother died this year. I missed it every time. On the way home, my wife said, do you think he wanted you to talk about his mother dying this year? He was trying to invite me into here, but because I wasn't listening, we stayed out here and talked about the weather and sport for the rest of the time. The other thing is we can, it's like a dance, invite our way in as well. So we say, what did you do on the weekend? They say, I played touch football. We could say, why do you like touch football? To answer that, they got to use values. They might say something, because I think health is important. And then we could say, well, why do you think health is important? To answer that, they got to go worldviews. They might say, well, this is the only life I have to look after it. So it's all about giving people safe space where they know they're safe enough to talk about values and their worldviews, and then gospel conversations will emerge. So how do I get to move from interests to values to worldviews? Well, as I was hinting, rather than worrying about what we're trying to say, point number 4, listen. That's all we have to do. Listen to them. Don't worry about what we have to say. Try to get them talking and listen. Listen to what they're saying. So what often happens to me is I'll be at a party, I meet someone and I ask them, what do you do for work? You know, the music's loud, you got to shout, boom, 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 boom. What do you do for work? I'm an engineer. And then they go, well, what do you do for work? I'm in professional Christian ministry and I tell people about Jesus. The music stops. And then it's a game of, and then it's awkward. It's a game of chicken, like where, look, who blinks first? And finally someone will say, wow, how blue was the sky on the weekend? Yeah, how blue was the sky on the weekend? Well, what's happened there? Well, here we were in public space, talking about secular conversation, facts, evidence, data. What do you do for work? I'm an engineer. No, you're not. No, it's all right. He's an engineer. You can keep talking about that. But I have dragged the conversation, and they just asked a safe question, what do you do for work? And I've mentioned something about God or Jesus. I've dragged the conversation here into the sacred way before any of us were ready for it. So what do I do now? I usually say, okay, we're here way before we're ready for it, but I'll give us permission to stay here. And I throw them a question like, do you have a faith? It's just a simple question, or do you pray? And some friends of mine in Wollongong are now saying, well, an even better question is, well, how were you raised? What religion do your parents raise you with? Which is a very descriptive statement, but a permission to stay in the world of values and God if this is what you want. And surveys show 4 out of 5 Australians believe in a God, in the supernatural, in life after death, and they're feeling like it's a closed country and they can't talk about these things, and now you're giving them permission to talk. So they might say something like, well, I'm a Buddhist. And in that moment you go, wow, tell me about that. And ask them as many questions as you can. How do you pray? How do you worship? How often do you go to the temple? What do you do in the temple? Is your husband a Buddhist? How do you try to raise your children? If they say they're an atheist, that's okay. That's a faith-based position as well. And you go, wow, tell me about that. How long have you been an atheist? Were you raised an atheist? Wow, how does that work? Tell me about the God you don't believe in. And then you try to get them talking as long as you can. And all you're trying to do is do 3 things. You're trying to hear, understand, and feel the emotion behind what they're saying. Guys, it's everything you're taught in premarital counselling. So when your wife says you're not taking out the garbage, you say, oh, from what I hear you saying, I'm not taking out the garbage. Just parrot her words back at her. And then, oh, I understand. Now just summarize the words in your own words to show you're not just parroting. Okay, I understand I'm not doing enough of the housework. Oh, that must make you feel, and you just got to guess an emotion. And it's always anger. Oh, that must make you feel so angry. So my wife caught me telling my guy friends this advice. She said, oh, if I ever catch you doing that to me. And I said, oh, from what I hear you say. And my counsellor friend, James, he says there are three sorts of listening, and the counsellors have taught this. The first sort of listening where, come on, you're just waiting for your turn to speak because you know what you want to say. Oh, well, that's not the right sort of listening. The second sort of listening is waiting for your turn to show them why they're wrong. And again, that's not the right sort of listening. The third type of listening is where you're just trying to get them to talk so you can hear, understand, and feel. And my friend James says the best way to do this is you have a drink in your hand, so every time they stop talking and it's your turn, you just put the drink back in your mouth, saying, buddy, I'm not talking. You got to keep talking. And I remember when I was seeing a counsellor, every time I stopped talking, wanting her to go next, she'll just put a drink in her mouth. I was like, oh, I know what you're doing. I know what you're doing now. But even then, I could not stop talking. I was talking, and this voice in my head would say, stop talking. You're saying too much. Now she knows you're crazy. But it's amazing when the other person doesn't talk, you will keep talking. You can't help it. And that's why you're trying to get them to do. Keep talking and talking and talking. And, you know, if you ask someone what they did for the weekend, after a while they have to reciprocate. What did you do for the weekend? And if you let them go for 1 minute, they'll give you 1 minute. If you can get them going for 10 minutes, they should give you 10 minutes. And what you're trying to do is get them talking as long as possible. I remember one time I caught a plane, sat next to this guy. One thing led to another. What are you doing? Oh, here we go again. I'm going to this city to give talk about Jesus from the Bible. Silence. Oh, I'll be such a hypocrite if I don't do this because I tell people to do this. I said, well, do you have a faith? And he said, yeah. I actually, when I was a teenager in South Africa, checked out Christianity. That's when I found out it was a front for hate crimes against gay people. And I went, wow, tell me about that. Tell me about this journey. And I got him going for 90 minutes. Well, I heard him, understood him, felt him. From what I hear you say, I understand. Oh, that must make you feel. And at the end of the 90 minutes, I said, okay, I hear you, I understand, I feel you. You say your objections against Christianity is it's homophobic, it's anti-scientific, and all religions are the same anyway. Would you like me to respond? And he went, yes. And then he let me monologue for 60 minutes until the plane landed. And then he said, thank you so much. You made that flight go so much quicker. And I thought, oh, not for me, did it? Not for me. And then so when they say, well, tell me, how did you become a Christian? That's when you say, oh, I grew up in a Christian family. I knew about Jesus for as long as I remember. That is not what you say. Like, they stopped listening to you the instant you said, I grew up in a Christian family. So we need to learn to tell our story as a story. I used to teach in a Bible college. Once a year we'd have a Bible college mission where the students would go to a church just like this. The lecturer, me, I got to give the Bible talk because I was the qualified one. The students, they're not qualified yet, so they get to do the testimony. That's safe. And that's when I realised, oh my goodness, all the testimonies sound exactly the same. It could have been like this student could get up and go, oh, I forgot to bring my testimony. Can I borrow yours? And they go, and it would work. It would work. So we need to tell our story as a story. I think I've run out of time, haven't I? Go this one and we won't do the next one again. All right, so stories have a rule of threes. You got to meet the character, intro, then you got to define the mission. Then there's a body where you try to fulfill the mission. There's this but moment, but it's not going to work. So then there's a bridge where you redefine the mission, recommit to the mission. Finally, there's a conclusion or climax, and then there's a denouement, the closing scene. All right, so romantic comedies, boy meets girl, so you meet the characters. They're on a mission. They have to fall in love. Bit by bit, they fall in love. but at the last minute, the boy loses the girl. Then there's this bridge moment, montage. Do I love her? Do I not love her? Do I love her? Do I not love her? Oh, yes, I do. Recommit to the mission. Grand romantic gesture, climb a mountain, swim an ocean, catch a train, declare your love, win her, and then the denouement, this is the new life together. All right, sports movies, this is the team, lovable losers. Oh my goodness, there's a mission. We have to save the orphanage. We can only do this if we win the tournament. We need to find now a coach, a washed up, has-been alcoholic coach. He'll coach us. We're getting closer. Oh, but at the last minute, we can't do this. We're not good enough. There's a setback. So that's the bridge moment. Montage, training montage. We can do this. Yes, we can. So now you're in the tournament, and even that's the rule of threes. You're up, you're down, and then you win. Ding, 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 ding. And then the denouement, where are they now? He's a real estate salesman, he's a car salesman, he's a high school teacher, he's a lawyer, that sort of thing. All right, so there's a rhythm to storytelling. So even Jesus, the Synoptic Gospels use this grid. We meet Jesus, he gets baptized, that defines a mission, he needs to save the world. So bit by bit, he journeys to Jerusalem, gets into Jerusalem, but at the last minute, is this what I want to do? Should I not? Oh, yes, I do. Not my will, but yours. So then he dies, and then you have the post-resurrection appearances. That's the denouement. So there's a rhythm. Okay, so now when it's time to tell our story, who are you? So my one could go, I'm an Asian high achiever. My mission in life was to become a doctor. Now you got to give examples. For example, I studied really, really hard at school. I became a doctor. But when you're a doctor, suddenly you realise I'm still just as insecure and proud as I used to be. I still need trophies to feel validated and find self-worth. And there's another set of goals, another set of exams to pass. This never ends. And that's when we introduced the gospel. That's when I remembered Jesus is perfect, so I don't have to be perfect. I don't have to pretend to be someone I'm not. I don't have to pretend to be perfect. I am perfect. God loves me just the way I am because of Jesus. Now you show how this had to be real in your life. This had to become real in my life when one day I had to make a decision. Should I stay in full-time medicine or could I serve God in Christian ministry? You can serve God as a doctor, but I had opportunities here which meant I couldn't serve God as a doctor. In the Asian world, this means you're somebody, but, I have Jesus, so I don't need medicine to be somebody, so I was able to give up medicine. I see my doctor friends now, they say, I have changed. I don't drive like a jerk anymore. I don't dominate the conversations at dinner parties anymore. So apparently being a high achiever makes you proud and insecure. But now with Jesus, I'm humble and secure. Jesus is perfect, so I don't have to be perfect. So the hardest thing is trying to work out who you are. So I gave this assignment to my Bible college students. And I remember one lady is going, I can't do this. She had a blank page for a whole hour. I said, well, who are you? She said, I've been a Christian my whole life, but who are you? And finally she got it. Intro, I am a pastor's kid. I'm a people pleaser. My mission in life is to please people. For example, I would always have to get the answers right in Sunday school. But the problem with being a people pleaser is even if you give your best, it's not enough. I practiced my piano and in the Stedford, I still wasn't good enough. Now you bring up the gospel. That's when I realised, hey, God is pleased with me the way I am because of Jesus. This became real for me at a camp when I was a teenager, when I gave my life to Jesus. And this is my life now. The other day at work, I made a mistake. The boss pulled me up for it. In the past, I would have made an excuse, but now I was happy to own my mistake because I knew, you know what, it's okay. God is pleased with me just the way I am. So the hardest thing is trying to work out who you are, what your mission in life is. I have a friend called Damien. So his one went like this. I am adopted. My mission in life is to find belonging, a family in which I belonged. I looked for in all the wrong places at school. I tried to be a jock, but I still remember that moment at Schoolies Week. I did the drinking, I did the partying. I still didn't find belonging. That's when I realised, hey, God can be my father. I can be his child. So I gave my life to Jesus. Now I have belonging. And that my new life is, even with my adopted family, I can enjoy them now for just who they are, my adopted family. I don't have to ask them to give me the belonging that only God can give me. So that's tip number 5, tell our story as a story. And my 6th tip would be then, if we get a chance, tell a story about Jesus from the Bible. So we've had their story, our story, and then a story about Jesus from the Bible. Just tell it in our own words, and then just ask them, well, what did you think about that story? And that's a question they can't get wrong, and maybe that can lead to more gospel opportunities.